Hello, my name is Marek Domagała. I'm a composer and sound designer for video games. I would like to give you a rundown of the audio design in the game Replacement, including the usage of audio middleware program called FMOD Studio, my choices of sound palette and instrumentation, and the audio decisions that I have made that are related to the overall game design. In short, I'm going to be explaining the whole creative and technical process, excluding the integration of FMOD with Godot engine, for which I'm planning to make a separate video/tutorial. In the puzzle game Replacement, you take on the role of a factory worker who soon finds themselves competing with a fast and efficient assembly line robot which threatens your job. You must assemble the devices as quickly and accurately as you can, and if you can't keep up with the robot colleague, you will get fired. Replacement is an entry to the Ludendare 50 game jam. You can find the link in the download page in the description. And now, without further ado, let's get into it. Replacement is a game with a strong industrial theme, and I wanted to reflect that. When the player launches the game, they are taken to the menu, where minimalistic industrial hits and occasional drill sounds make up for the first music track. As a small Easter egg, because the theme of the jam was Delay the Inevitable, I added a delay effect to some of the percussion hits, creating an effect of an echo. Obviously, this music track is loopable and will loop indefinitely if you never leave the menu. I decided that the length of 60 seconds is definitely enough for this track. Clicking on the credits button will produce a one-shot sound effect of a long drill, some anvil hits, and a short Easter egg voice-over. If you click on any hyperlink in the credits pop-up, you will also hear a click sound. Closing the pop-up tree will trigger the same sound. Clicking play will trigger yet another different sound effect consisting of a drill and an industrial hit. Additionally, it will make the main music fade out. The drill sounds are synthesizer patches layered with rapid consecutive notes of drum samples. During the gameplay, an incomplete assembly is sent to you through the conveyor belt. When it arrives, your job is to pick up one of the parts from the bin, rotate it, and place it in the correct slot. After you have successfully installed all missing parts, you need to press the green button so that the complete assembly is sent further and the new one arrives. This is the entire gameplay loop. Let's talk about the sound effects first. We've got the conveyor belt sound, the clicking sound for when you install a part on the assembly, the sound when you press the green button, and a voiceover of your boss, well, bullying you.
Good job, everyone. Now back to work. Can you be a little faster, please? Back to work, you slave.
As for grabbing parts from the bin and installing them on the assembly, I had the choice to make sounds not only for correctly installing a part, but also for grabbing it from the bin, rotating it, or trying to install it incorrectly. I didn't do any of those and only opted for the incorrectly installed sound, because Replacement is a time-based game and the audio would get really messy in some button mashing scenarios. The sound itself is a recording of a laptop battery being inserted into a laptop, which produces a clicking sound. However, to make it feel fuller and more satisfying, I layered multiple recordings with some of them being pitch shifted an octave up or down. There are 4 different click sound effects, and the FMOD event randomly triggers one of them, while never triggering the same event in the same one twice in a row. After you have finished work with the device, you send it further using the green button. This is a simple sine wave. Sending the device further will also potentially trigger the voiceover of your boss telling you to pick up the pace or downright bullying you.
Back to work, you slave.
Each of the 4 announcers starts with half a second of silence so that the player doesn't feel like they're playing a recording when they hit a button. The whole event also has only 30% probability to trigger, so that the player doesn't hear it too often. After the shift ends, you are presented with a summary of it. Clicking proceed will trigger a new industrial hit sound effect. The gameplay is divided in shifts. The first shift helps us get accustomed with the game. Beginning with the second shift, the game introduces the robot that you will be competing against. First, the game triggers the sound of the robot powering on, and then proceeds to loop another sound of it assembling the devices. When this and each consecutive shift ends, the game triggers the sound of the robot turning off. Each of those 3 sound effects consists of multiple drills, and the loop of working drills is synchronized with the animation. After the game was released, we quickly found out that the robot working sound gets annoying really fast, so I turned down the volume of it. It also helps as a way to connect the audio with the visuals. The robot is installed behind half a wall, so naturally its sounds would be quieter. Depending on how fast or how slow you assemble the devices, and how many points you score, you will lose the game sooner or later. It is only a matter of time before the robot replaces you. At the end of the shift during which the robot surpassed your score, you will hear an industrial hit accompanied by a long drill sound, the game over sound. Using drills is only appropriate since it connects the fact that you lost to the fact that it was the robot that beat
Can you be a
you.
little faster, please?
Now let's talk about the music. The looping trap consists of 4 layers of intensity, with each consecutive layer triggering every few shifts. Because the game takes place in the factory, it is only natural to have some sort of industrial ambience or soundscape, but instead of creating a separate loop, I decided to give this role to the music track. Additionally, this is a difficult and a time-based game, so the music couldn't be too aggressive or distracting anyway. The first layer consists of multiple hang drums which have a sound very reminiscent of what one might hear in a factory. The rhythm is sophisticated enough so that it's easier for the music to also sell the idea of a background ambience, in a way imitating the sounds of workers tapping their fingers on the machinery as they work. In the second layer, more hang drums are introduced, along with steel tongue drums which are responsible for more melodic bits in the music. The third layer is when percussion hits and accents are introduced. This layer is very similar to menu music. Around the time that things get more intense and the robot starts overwhelming the player with its efficiency, the fourth layer of music triggers. This layer consists entirely of a drum beat. The fifth and final layer is a glitchy synthesizer with a bit crush effect on it. To make it so that the layers are synchronized at all times, I assigned the parameter in FMOD, and depending on the value of the parameter, a layer's volume jumps from 0 to regular or back to 0. This means that during the gameplay, FMOD always triggers and plays all of the layers, but some of them simply stay silent until the parameter's value tells them that it's their time to jump in. The parameter is obviously linked with the script of the game. One small thing I did is that the first layer has 2 different versions of the music. I realized that hearing exactly the same intro in the music every time you play will get boring or predictable, so I created a slightly different variation of the first layer. After the jam ended, our team got together to discuss any improvements. One of our decisions was to add some kind of background ambience to the gameplay, since it is located in the factory and if we don't show it visually, we at least need some cues to help sell the idea. So I prepared 3 ambient tracks. The primary audio source in them is live recordings of multiple kitchen utensils hitting each other and scraping against each other. There are also recordings of Blender, which obviously sounds very similar to drill. Besides all that, there's also white noise and short sounds of the conveyor belt scattered in the stereo field. Each track has the length of 1.5 minutes. FMOD randomly chooses which one to trigger at the beginning of each shift, and then loops it until that shift is over. Here is how it sounds combined with everything else.
Good job, you rock. I'd like to work.
The integration of Godot engine with FMOD Studio was possible through Utopia Rise integration, a link to which you can find in the description. If you liked this video or thought it was informative, I would appreciate a like or subscribe. Thank you for watching.